Well, before the telephone engineer came, I was doing something. I was slicing this log into little slices to put in my oven. Not to cook them, but to burn, to get the oven nice and hot. Because that's the sort of oven I've got. This is actually a piece of cherry. And when I first felled this piece of cherry, I thought, that's too nice to burn. I should make handles for things. But then I discovered that the reason the tree was dead was because, well, it's had it. Anyway, what I'm going to do now, some of you have done this walk with me before, but I'm going to go for a little walk down into the town just to stretch my legs, get some fresh air, and yeah, give thanks for a successful day of telephone engineers doing telephonic engineering. I've walked for nearly 3/4 of a minute, and this is the place that I look forward to calling home. Not that place, the town in general. That will be a fun place to live. Just think how many rat rods you could build in the garages of that house. Not sure that they'd be too keen on that. Yes, this is the town of Azay le Ferron. A small town, population sadly dwindling. Doesn't normally suffer too badly with traffic, but it's that time of day when quite a few people are on their way home now. And we are outside of the tourist season. But when you've got an attraction like that, a lot of people come to visit it. And the best time to visit is when there are no tourists. Yeah, okay. Lots of tourists today. Even coach parties, how about that? Right. Let me just go and walk into this building. You should by now, if you've followed all of my videos, you should recognise this as the Church of Saint Nazaire. Yeah, I had to look up Saint Nazaire. I always think of it as a town, a port town in France, but of course there was a Saint Nazaire. He was a martyr, and the story is that he was being persecuted and they threw him in the water to drown him. And the story is that he was a man of such great faith that he walked on the water and escaped. So they rounded him up and cut his head off, and he didn't escape that one. So there we are. This is the church dedicated to Saint Nazaire. And it's been here a while. Now, of course, this being very French France, the majority of churches are Roman Catholic. So we see things in here that you might not see in your Baptist chapel or your friend's meeting house. But it's in many ways a very plain church. But when you go into a Roman Catholic church, the first thing, not just Roman, but Greek Orthodox and many other churches, the first thing that you'll see is the font. And it's always, it's generally near the front door to remind us that your entry into the church is by baptism. And there's a little dish of water, not very ceremonial, is it? So that you can just cross yourself on the forehead to remind yourself of your own baptism. And proper Roman Catholics would walk in here and recognise that with the lamp burning on the altar, there is reserved host in the tabernacle. A very good place to sit and gather your thoughts. In the pulpit is a statue of Joseph, holding the infant Jesus. Now, he normally stands on that little plinth there, but he's been displaced. And there's an icon of Christ on a lectern. I don't know why. Don't know. Okay, well, I'd better skedaddle and get some wood burning, because I'd like to eat tonight and I need to get the oven hot. Funny that, isn't it? It's a beautiful town, very peaceful, very peaceful. That's the town hall. Those are the public toilets. Some of you may want to know where they are. And this road is La Rue de la Berlandière. It's got a school which is sort of both sides of the road, which is why we can hear children playing. I do like the way this chap has parked the van close to the bollard. Okay. Well, I've just walked through a gaggle of school children. They're all excited because it's that time of day when school children are excited because they're going home. And for those of you that think you might like to come here, this is the it's a close, it translates as a close, Impasse de la Berlandière, and there we are. That's my new front door. It's a very old front door, but you know, new to me, isn't it? And one of the joys of less complicated living is sometimes you need to think ahead a little bit. And with the engineer's visit, I was a little bit behind getting Marlene fired up. Yeah, that's going to take a little while to get her up to full temperature. So let's go for a walk around the estate. In cutting firewood, I was cutting some on the circular saw, but then I sort of moved and I was doing stuff there. But yeah, I made a small pile of fire and kindling, and yeah, all got to be done, and I must say it's doing me good. My trousers are loose. I've lost about an inch off my waist, so that's all good. The weather through summer here was very, very dry. It meant that the marigolds suffered a little bit, but November, well, it starts to rain, and some things have revived a little bit. You know, we've got roses growing, and I've been doing things. I've attacked the grapevine. I've got to attack it a bit more. I have attacked some of the trees. I've been digging. Now, those of you that follow or chat to me on Facebook, you've been following this particular sort of excavation. These beds, these two are now filled with onion. I thought it was a little bit late for planting onion sets, but they have a different growing season here to what I'm used to. So those beds, I dug them out, and yeah, we've got red onions in this one, we've got white onions in that one. And something I've been doing as I've been digging is I've been keeping any what might be thought of as archaeology. And I'm pleased to say I've found nothing significant. Very pleased with that, because if I found anything significant, work has to stop. I have to tell the town hall, and they come and look and and ah, because where we are, we're actually in the grounds of the estate, what used to be the estate of the chateau, which you can see. Let me put my finger on it. That's the chateau, and there is always a possibility of finding things, because actually the maps of the chateau weren't that well kept. So no one really knows quite what these buildings were built for, or even exactly when they were built. So yeah, I'm sort of pleased that I've not found any significant archaeology in this plot. I'm breaking out this one. Not sure I'm going to plant there yet. Something. And the soil is a heavy clay, so you know it again, it helps keep you fit. Heavy clay with tea leaves. This tree, well, it was dead when we first looked at the premises, and that is actually turning slowly into firewood. Slow job. I've done most of the cutting that I can do on my table saw. The next bit is going to be by hand, although my neighbour, a chap who lives over there called Alan, he has offered to come and do it with his chainsaw, but I don't actually like chainsaws. They make me blood run cold. I've seen too many people with injuries from them. But you know, that's all got to come down, and it won't go to waste. That will keep me warm. One of the things that I found strange here is I've got this little collection of baby oak trees, and there are no oak trees for acorns to fall off. So again, local knowledge. I'm talking to Alan, he said, well, it's the birds. What I think of as a blue jay, here it's known as the jay du chêne, or the jay of the oak. And apparently about 1/4 of a mile that way is a huge oak tree, and the jays take the acorns off it, and then they dropped them in various places. Why they dropped them here, I don't know. But I look at them and think, yeah, future oak forest, that might keep me warm next year. Well, 10 years' time. But there we are. There's the estate. This is the garden that is attached to the house. That's a field at the back, which earlier in late summer, early autumn, they cut the grass and baled it up for cattle feed. There's Alan just sort of, I don't know, thinking about doing something. Getting some of this vine down has allowed me to see some of the features of the back wall of the property. Now, yeah, there's windows and a chimney. Now that is very good news, because I want to put a fire around about where that chimney is, and fires always work better if they've got a chimney. So there was a chimney once. But I better go and see how Marlene is getting on with the firewood.